What's up, y'all? My name is T. Shaw, and this is Brewin Black Podcast, where the contents we serve you is authentic, vulnerable, and relatable. That means we serve you with no cream and no sugar.
I guess I like my coffee black.
Hello, everyone. This is Scholar P, pronouns he, him, his.
And it's your boy T. Shaw, pronouns he, him, his.
And welcome to Brewin Black, where we give you the latest in news and entertainment. For those who like their coffee, who like their news like we like our coffee, black. It's also for the millennials and the intellectuals as well.
Absolutely.
I'm feeling good today, T. We are in a new habitat. We are in a new environment. How are you feeling, bro?
Bro, I'm feeling good. Let's put it on the record. Like, we are moving and we grooving. We also just celebrated our 2 years, so I think that's important to recognize. And with that, we wanted to take it to the next level. I think that we've been doing so well. Just growing and trying stuff don't work, trying stuff and trying stuff. So I think that it's just it's beautiful to be at this point of the journey, and I love it. I love it. I love it. But personally, I'm good, bro. I'm good. I just came back from Vegas. I got to spend some time with my family, my friends. I got to see my goddaughter. It was her first birthday. So shout out to Miss Kaya Rose. But yeah, man, it's been good. It's been good. How are you?
I'm good, man. Like you said, every time we in our podcast, we always tell our audience we got more things coming from y'all. We coming for y'all, and it feels like the level up. Like, we got the shirts, we got our studio, we got our background, we got our cups.
The mugs.
And it just feels like we're putting that pedal to the metal. So it just feels good to be in that space. I have a crazy story. For those of you who don't know, I've been talking about working on my dissertation for a while. And it was so funny because this week I got like over 30 to 40 plus interviewees to sign up.
Ooh.
However, what I learned was that my interview got tweeted out.
Oh,
yes,
that's what happened. Okay,
that's what happened. So unfortunately, a lot of people who signed up have no idea what their study is really about. But it was still a blessing to see all of that come through. So I got to sort of laugh at myself in life this week. But man, yeah, like you said, our 2-year anniversary, man, so much has happened. Shout out to all the D9 organizations, because it's been a second since we've seen y'all. So we talking the Kappas, aka the Deltas, the Zetas, and my boys in blue, the Sigmas, Blue Phi. So there's just been a lot of stuff that's been transpiring, but we're so happy to be here. T, tell the world where we are right now.
Yes, so we are in a studio, but we still in LA. So this is the land of Gabrielino and the Tongva. This is stolen land. This is colonized land, and we will always, always, always pay those respects.
Absolutely, absolutely. So we are going to start off our show with something called our special shots. And for those of you who do not know, our special shots is when we quickly give you updates on things going on in the world and give you some really hot fire quick takes. So one of the first things that we want to start off doing is saying rest in peace to Regina King's son.
Yeah.
And it's such a tough thing. Regina King does so much for the community. Her movies have been great. The Harder They Fall, her directorial debut in The One Night in Miami. And like and if you're just new to Regina King, that's like the tip of the iceberg in terms of what she's contributed to the Black community and the Black artistic space for years. So we just want to love on her so much and send her, strength and positivity, because that's a tough way to lose anyone in your life, much less your child, right? And so we want to send prayers her way. But on a more, critical note, Micheal Todd, the famous pastor Micheal Todd, for those of you who are not church inclined, there's a story in the Bible about Jesus spitting in his hand and wiping it in a blind man's eye, and the blind man can see again. And usually, for those of you who are not familiar with church, sometimes the pastors use physical examples. Maybe they'll run in place to do an example. Maybe they'll hold a cup of water and it'll overfill to show you that your cup is running over. But Micheal Todd decided to spit in his hand and say that, you know, sometimes God will do things in your life, and to the public eye, it looks crazy. It looks insane. And the point of the message was that even with spit in your eye, even with you looking crazy, God has a blessing for you. But in today's age,
In a COVID world.
I first don't understand how you, as a pastor and a leader of thousands, decide that that's okay, that it's sanitary, that it's safe. But in terms of just human dignity, like shout out to Candace Bimbo. She talked about this, but like the arrogance to like compare yourself to Jesus in that moment and to take actual spit. I saw this man.
Yeah.
Right? It's
Yeah.
disgusting. And to do that and to put it in another human being's face, to think that that is the way to get your message across, it was just crazy. Yeah, like
in front of the whole congregation, live stream.
Come on, man. It's like
humiliating. It's humiliating.
Like, and it's just like, how do you as a human being, like, feel like that's okay? And it made me feel like, damn, this man is hurting.
Yeah.
This man is hurting. He has to be hurting
He got to.
for it to go down like this, for you to agree to, like, yes, Pastor, use me as the example. It's like, bro, if you don't get the hell out of here, man. Like, what is that? Like, so I think that Micheal Todd, you actually have a lot of great examples. He actually does a lot of, like, I'll be catching his reels, but a little too far, bro. Like
that time.
just COVID, if nothing else, COVID. But I mean, more importantly, human dignity. So we gotta send that away, man. Micheal Todd, do better. You're better than this. You actually probably are anointed in some capacity. You've done great messages. This just wasn't it, bro.
That's not it. Yeah.
So let's go ahead and step into something that we like to call our light roast. And for those of you who don't know, our light roast is when we critique someone or something in society. And, you know, we try to, you know, do it in a positive, constructive way, if you will. But sometimes these people, places, things, they don't deserve it. They don't deserve it. So on our bill today, we actually have none other than Florida. Now, for those of you who don't know, Florida is a state in the United States that does not give a damn, okay? And shout out to all my Floridians that I know in my life. There are a lot of great Floridians I know, but the state in and of itself, they just don't give a damn.
Shambles,
and
bro.
I don't understand why, but this is where we are. So let's actually start off with the don't say, that's what some people are calling it, the don't say gay bill. And basically, to give you some cliff notes, it's really discouraging and correct me if I'm wrong, T, but sort of penalizing folks who talk about LGBTQIA plus stuff in like curriculum and in education. And so I'll get into what I think about that, but like, what are some of your initial thoughts?
Yeah, and I just want to add a little bit more context to the situation. So the bill did just pass in a House committee, and what that means. And if I don't know if y'all remember that. I'm just a bill. I'm only a bill. But I mean, at our big age, we don't really often know how a bill becomes law. Right. And I just want to break that process down real quick to explain how serious this is and how close this can be to becoming a real law. So first, a bill is introduced. And then when it is introduced and read out, it is sent to a committee within a certain chamber, whether that be the House or the Senate. And then it's voted on there. It can go to a few different committees or it can go to one, depending on what kind of bill it is. And then it's sent to the whole House or the whole Senate. And if it passes there, it's sent to the other chamber. And then if it passes there, then it gets sent to the governor who signs off on it or the president who signs off on it, right? So right now it's passed the House committee. So it's on track. And it's also, especially this bill, it is both in the House and the Senate right now. So it sounds like they're on the same page. And that's scary because this bill, just like you said, is limiting discussions of sexual orientation and gender identity in schools. And it stops teachers and essentially students from having these LGBT conversations in class. And it would also allow parents to sue schools and school districts if they do break this, right? So they say that this bill is aimed at elementary school kids. The writers of the bill say, it's for kindergartners through like second or third grade. But when you look into the bill language a little bit more, it's kindergarten through fifth. And I don't know, thinking about me as a kid, it's like I had a crush in kindergarten. Like, I knew I liked girls in kindergarten. And I would think about even in 4th grade, there was a kid that got bullied for being gay or being perceived as gay in 4th grade. So without having these conversations in safe places, how can these students feel safe? Like, especially if they're not safe at home, right? So I think that we think of school as an outlet and the school as a place for education, and that is a place to be educated on conversations like that. And teachers should be empowered to be having these conversations in class. I think it's this anti-wokeism, really. And we see Ron DeSantis, I think that's his name, DeSantis, pushing a lot of bills like this, and it's not having any type of space for like progressive conversations. And I think about how parents are so against their kids seeing gay cartoons and seeing gay this and gay that, but it's like they are inundated with heterosexuality everywhere they go, right? Like, as a kid, like I saw people kiss at 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and 7. So I think it's important because these things won't make kids gay. And I think that we've had this conversation on the podcast before, but it's like people need exposure to this because the exposure just helps them more than anything. It can't harm them.
Right.
But yeah, what are your initial thoughts?
Well, and you, I want to reiterate a lot of your points, right? So I think that if you are, let's take it from like birth to a young age. If you, first of all, you know, you grow up, especially, in whatever community you grow up in, like there were gay people at the school, there were gay people at the church. I saw women kissing women or men kissing men on TV at early ages or whatever. Like, I'm still a straight man, you know what I'm saying? But my fear, my concern are for the gay boys and girls who never see themselves represented, and they're like you said, indoctrinated with like a heterosexual agenda all the time. And what I think about and what I encourage Floridians to think about is that when you don't talk about something, when you ban and penalize people for talking about something, it makes it taboo. So now when a person is trying to explore their sexuality and they may happen to do that with someone who is either LGBTQIA plus or straight, it's so taboo that person might react and be harmful verbally, physically, this, that, and the third. Because why? Because it's so taboo that to be associated with it is to feel like you were insulted on the highest level, or to feel like it's evil on the highest level. And I think that that's what happens so often. Like, I know about a transgender woman in North Carolina who was dating someone. He was ashamed that he was dating a transgender woman, and she was like, all right. And then he invites her back to his place just to kill her. Wow. You know what I'm saying? Even though she had left it alone, she wasn't going to out him or anything. And so, but I think that growing up, if you learn, hey, like, humans are humans. Like, it's okay to have whatever sexual identity or preference or romantic preference that you want. Then by the time these conversations and interactions happen when we are a big age, it's not as taboo, and you can say, oh, like that's I align with that or I don't. Versus, oh, you're insulting me, so this, that, and the third. And I think my issue with what you brought up in terms of the bill is that, like, it shouldn't even be able to move that far, because we should have educated enough individuals in our government to say, oh, that's a ridiculous bill. It's going to cost us, more in psychological services and
physical harm.
Like, there's so many damages that you are, putting yourself in line with when you don't have these conversations early, when you don't institutionalize these conversations, because people are still going to do whatever they want to do and whatever they feel in their heart.
Absolutely.
So it's like, they need to understand the environment for it, and folks who are violent, who have a link to violence, who might want to react violently to LGBTQIA plus folks, they need to understand, like, it's not okay that you will be penalized. But what you're saying right now is that no, they're in the wrong. They're in the wrong for even talking about their sexuality. So I could never be in the wrong if I reacted violently to it. That's how I'm reading it. So
and it starts at an early age. If you're not allowing these conversations to happen in elementary school, you don't create a culture of tolerance and a culture of acceptance, right? So then you do get to this big age where you're 18, 19, 20, 25, 40, and you find yourself attracted to a trans woman, a trans man, or you might be exploring your sexuality because you never had those conversations before, and you don't know how to, especially as men, you don't know how to I don't know, really engage with it, right? So then you engage with it through violence and anger. It's like, especially if somebody else might find out because of these same conversations we've had, or the same conversation we're stopping from having. So I think it's so important that this bill does not become law. Because think about it, like, this is Florida. Think about Post nightclub. Like, this bill, there are kids wherever Post nightclub, I believe that's Orlando, right?
Yeah.
So like, there are kids that are gonna wonder what happened and why did that happen, and that's illegal to talk about in school. And a 5-year-old has questions. A 3-year-old has questions. You ever been around a toddler? Like, they don't stop asking questions.
Right.
So I think that, like, we can't just Euro step these type of conversations just to, I don't know, just to keep normal, I guess. Like, and I guess that's what conservatism is, right? Like, the unwillingness to move forward, the unwillingness to progress and to hold on to these traditional values. And I don't think that it has a lot of benefit for us moving forward.
Absolutely. It's like you can hold on to a hot stove, but like over time your hands will disintegrate and the damage will be permanent, and you're gonna look back and be like, damn, if I would have just let that shit go. You know, like, but those are our values. Our values are harmful. They're steaming hot. They aren't meant to be held on to for long. You know what I'm saying? But yeah. But we're gonna keep it on Florida because this is not not the only crazy bill that Florida is talking about. They are now talking, and I want you to give people more details on this. But they gave their first approval for a bill that is actually created to shield white people from discomfort and guilt when speaking about a racist past. And I just don't understand what the logic behind it is. But T, what do you think about this?
I mean, you said the logic. So like, the bill says that it will prohibit Florida public schools and private business from making people feel discomfort or guilt based on their race, color, sex, and national origin. So it's not an over-exaggeration to say that it is a bill crafted to protect white people's feelings, like, and specifically white males as well, right? Knowing that there's that sex component in there.
Yeah, they really made sure they knocked off all the check boxes.
And then also, I thought it was weird too, because when I looked at the actual bill's language, they striked out ethnicity and replaced it with color. And I'm like, well, color and race are essentially the same thing. When you look at someone's color, then you determine their race. Their ethnicity is something completely different. Like, I can be black and be Haitian. I can be black and be Dominican. I can be black and be from Nigeria, or I can be black and be African American. So I think that the fact that it is prioritizing shielding these people's feelings, and they talk about historic actions too, like that we can't attribute historic actions and make people feel guilty for that. So that means that we're trying to avoid history in general. And I think that the thing that makes me uncomfortable is that history shows us why things happen and how things happen. So we need to have a good understanding of history. And when you follow history, you realize that it's not just names and dates like some history class might make it to be, but it's really a story. And in today's school, there's a push to figure out history from another perspective, and that's from another storyteller, right? And if you're asking someone, imagine your favorite show, right? And you're thinking about the show from the main character's perspective, but then you maybe do a side character. If that same show was from a side character, it would have a completely different perspective, but it would give you such a larger picture, right? And that is how we're trying to push history, because I think it's important to make that shift. Because when you change it from another perspective, you change how you see this universal fact. You get so many different sides and so many perspectives, and it gives you such a full picture. And if that leads to guilt, that means that something needs to be corrected. It's not that you have to, as a white person, feel guilty, but you should feel bad for what happened in the past, and you should want to right those wrongs. Imagine if this was Germany and we was like, oh, people shouldn't feel guilty about the Holocaust.
Yeah, don't talk about it. Yeah,
what? No. Because if you stop talking about it, then stuff can happen again, right? And I think that is the thing that makes me most uncomfortable. But what about you, Scholar P?
Yeah, so a lot of great things you said. So imagine this, right? We got these mugs, and imagine I have COVID, and I say, yo, T, you're drinking something right now. can I get that mug for a second?
Yeah.
I loogie it up like Micheal Todd. You're gonna be like, motherfucker, why'd you just spit in my shit? And I'm gonna be like, don't make me feel guilty about that. It was the past. It was the
Why
past.
you bringing up old stuff?
It was no. COVID could kill me today. It was the past. I don't want to feel guilty about your death, sir. It was the past. Yes, I disrespected you and on a monumental level, but it was the past. Don't make me feel uncomfortable about it. And I think that that's what's basically happening here. And I want to say something. This is a public service announcement, right? Like, history in and of itself is very important. We should never stop talking about it. But I think white people get misconstrued. It's not just slavery. Y'all are pissing us off today, either by your unawareness of a system you benefit from or your actual actions, your actual microaggressions, your actual aggressions in and of itself. Like, it's not just today. So for me, it's like, y'all are trying to avoid having a conversation, which is fine, but you got to remember, y'all are doing current shit.
Yeah.
It's not just your ancestors from the 1960s and the 1600s who are pissing us off, who are doing overtly racist things. There are systems and people in place who are doing it, and a lot of people are unaware, but a lot of people are very aware. The people who made this bill might be. And the scary part about it is, I don't even know if these are smart racists making these bills or if they're just unaware racists making these bills. And I think that's what really hits home for me. It's like, okay, you're gonna have to make a bill that says you can't talk about anything that makes older white men uncomfortable or white people uncomfortable or men uncomfortable, and you're gonna have to say it's about anything that anyone ever does in the current or the past, because people are gonna continue to do stuff to piss other people off that's racist and problematic on certain levels. And so it's a clear play. And for those of you who don't understand why we feel so outraged about this, you have to look at the legal jargon, right? So this word discomfort, right? Well, how do you define discomfort? Who gets to decide what discomfort is? If I'm a white person, if I'm a white professor, because this happens at UCLA all the time, white professors saying the N-word. Like, and I
work for him.
Right. Like if someone comes to me and says, hey, look there, N-word, like, go pick some cotton. Hey, don't call me that. I'm offended. Oh, you're making me uncomfortable. I'm discomfort. Ooh, that's against the law, sir. That's against the law. So, back up. You know what I'm saying? So we have to think about the protections that people who have bad intention and ill will can now use this law to shield themselves. Because you're not shielding yourself. You're not truly shielding yourself from feeling discomfort or guilty. This is the push and the catalyst and the cosign to do whatever you want to do, say whatever you want to do, be racist in whatever way. And when someone brings it up, oh, I'm uncomfortable now. I'm uncomfortable. And like you said, it stunts growth. Look. If you feel like comfort is a good thing, you know, and I'm talking to my white folks, go look at Gary Vee, go look at Elon Musk, go look at Bill Gates, go look at Warren Buffett. All those white men talk about how discomfort is the enemy of progress. All right. So, but everyone feels like when you're building a business, it's okay to be uncomfortable. When you're working out, it's okay to be uncomfortable. But when we talk about race, that's the one place where you need to be comfortable all the time. Fuck that. If I'm in a room full of women, they're talking about sexism and patriarchy, it's okay for me to be uncomfortable.
You should feel uncomfortable.
Yeah, because it's like, even if I'm not actively out there hurting a woman, I still benefit off of a system. So it's like, how do you start to adjust yourself to be like, okay, this is a lifelong thing. I was just telling my barber today, you know, and we've talked about it on the show before too. It's like, you would never come to me and say, yo, Ashton, I brushed my teeth really good 2 years ago. You know what I'm saying? You'd be like, oh, Ashton, like, if you didn't brush your teeth today, you'd be like, oh, crap, like, let me get that together. But when it comes to race, we want to talk about it one time. We want to have one diversity workshop. And now this bill is probably trying to stop us from even doing that.
I was just going to say, it is trying to take away those like implicit bias trainings. It is trying to get rid of like the 1619 project, because that is a document, that is a whole project, whether you're talking about the podcast or the book, that will make people uncomfortable. Because when you find out, it's like, oh, black people have been here since 1619, and that the first 7 presidents were slave owners, and they were from Virginia, and Virginia was one of the I mean, that's where the first slaves went, and they
Right.
had some of the biggest slave economy before it got shipped down to Georgia. So it's like when you start to hear these things, then yeah, you will become uncomfortable because you have to grapple with what this country really was. But just like you said, that is what progress looks like, and then that is the only way we can make progress. But yeah, they're definitely trying to go after those implicit bias trainings, those diversity trainings, and get all of that out of the workplace. And it's like, but think about before those things existed, and even now they exist, and we still are uncomfortable at our jobs.
Right.
Whether you are black or brown or a woman, disabled, like having these conversations and even bringing things to the forefront makes people uncomfortable. I remember sending out an email to my job when I worked as a store supervisor at the bookstore. And one of my best friends, Julius, worked there, and there was another kid named Sam. They both are biracial. We don't look anything alike. I'm taller than them. I'm a bit broader than them. Like, they don't look anything like me, but they interchangeably used our names. And I talked about that in an email, and I also talked about that in one of my diversity trainings. And my boss was there, and he was uncomfortable, right? So that would be illegal. You know what I mean? Like, I could suffer repercussions
Right.
for something like that. And that's not the exact language of the bill affecting me as an individual, but that is the sentiments that it pushes. So I think just as we're wrapping up, I want y'all to know that these are political bills because this is also in conjunction with those critical race bills we've talked about, right? We've talked about those a number of times in a bunch of different states, but Florida's put up their own. So knowing that these are political bills that are trying to rile up a base and knowing that we're in an election year, like I want y'all to pay attention to that. And then I also want to leave y'all with some questions like, what is the benefit of stopping these conversations when it's talking about a people's history, a history that we haven't really engaged with before, and talking about LGBT in schools? Like, what is the benefit of stopping those conversations, and who benefits from it? I want to leave y'all with that.
Yeah. And I'm gonna tell y'all this. And I'm talking to the great white parents around the world. Okay, when you can have these conversations now, or when your little boy has the racist frat party, or they're being called in for sexual violence because y'all didn't have these conversations about race, gender, and these other things. And now little Johnny's being sent to jail. Like, these are the repercussions because they don't understand race, they don't understand sex, they don't understand gender and sexuality. Yeah. When your child gets arrested for a hate crime against an LGBTQI plus person, and you crying in court, shit's too late for tears, right? And I think that if you love yourself and if you love the people around you, you better educate them and allow people to have these conversations because someone's gonna fuck up, and someone's gonna get repercussions for it, and it could have been avoided. So just know that agenda is out, and it's gonna hurt you way before it helps you.
Absolutely.
But yeah, man, it's crazy. It's gonna cost society a lot. But you know what else is costing society a lot, brother? This money challenge. Oh goodness. Yo, T, tell people about the money challenge and what's going on with it.
So y'all favorite rappers, whether that be Future, Lil Durk, City Girls, and all of your mutuals on Instagram, y'all probably seen it. They've discovered a new flex. And if you can't guess it, they're spelling out messages or they names with $100 bills or $20 bills or $50 bills. And for me, it like the first question I ask is why? Like, why? And to me, it's a flex. Like, it's clout. But I think one, especially like to my mutuals, y'all don't got it like that. Y'all don't got no protection like that. You become a target when you do that. You might get robbed. So be careful. Be careful. But then my question then becomes is like, did you need that attention? And what better ways can we be spending money? And for me, it's like, I want to introduce a new money challenge, right? Like, by the end of the year, give $100 to a cause that you believe in, whether that be a nonprofit, local nonprofit, you see somebody down on the street, or you see a bunch of people down on the street, or your niece is trying to go to college, right? Your niece might be 5 and you want to start a college fund or some type of fund for them. Like, that's the money challenge that I want to introduce. And then my last thing I was thinking is just like, with great power comes great responsibility.
Well,
And I think more than anything, I want our rappers to pay attention to this, because it's like our youth, like I work with students, high school students, and they're very impressionable. They eat stuff like this up. Like, I mean, adults are too. Like, you see they copying them, but
absolutely.
they eat stuff like this up. And this is what they strive to be. It's like when I'm working with my students, it's like, y'all want to go to college? It's like, no, I'm just trying to be rich. And I'm like, bro, you can get rich doing anything. Like, but you need to know something. And also, if you get rich and you don't know nothing, you're gonna splurge it. So I think that like it puts us down a wrong path, and I think we start to prioritize things that won't actually make us happy. I think people see rappers like this and it's like, oh, they got it big. I'm trying to be like them. He with hella women. I'm trying to be like them, right? And it's like, it messes up their priorities. So I guess that's the last thing I really want to leave like y'all thinking about, is like, with great power comes great responsibility. And when you have a platform like that you've earned, like, you have to be very conscious of like who's looking at you and who's watching you.
Yeah, I think that, we talked about this on like maybe one of our first 1 or 2 episodes ever, and we talked about this idea of respect, right? So it's like respect, and my name is like all I got.
Yeah.
So on one hand, I can understand like, yo, if you never came from that, which a lot of these rappers and these singers, like they coming from the gutter, or some of them are, and they're like, yo, I got money now, so now I'm gonna overcompensate because I never had it. I'm growing up with rats, roaches, violence everywhere, and like I got it and I made it out, and it's like now I want to flex and this, that, and the third, and so for me it's like, okay, I can understand that, but like there's other levels to it, right? So I would say this can be a both and, right?
I like that.
Right? So it's like, if you want to flex, cool. Don't share your location. You know what I'm saying? And be careful about how you go about it, because you can be a target.
That's what got Pop Smoke.
Look, and it's very unfortunate, right? And at the same time, I think that you have the capacity to also show people what to do with that money, so it stays stacking. And I would love for that to be something that accompanies the money challenge, or like a surprise money challenge where it's like, I surprise my favorite charity or someone who's down on their luck. We were talking about this in pre-production, but like God's plan, right?
Yeah.
Like Drake had that. He had that money, and if you all don't know how music videos work, labels give you money for the music video productions, right? So, he could have taken that money and did his own money challenge, a whole money phone, but he really went and blessed the whole community. You know what I'm saying?
With $1 million.
Right. And like really changed people's lives, had people crying, because it's like, to him, $1 million ain't,
Yeah.
He can't spend all the money that he probably has accumulated, right? But like, I would love to see more examples of like, all right, yo, I get money, but I also give money. Like I'm empowered, and so let me show you how I empower the communities or the people who empower me.
Yeah.
Let me actually try to take some of this money and give someone a leg up that I didn't have, right? So I think that there has to be a deeper level to this.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, that's I think the best way to put it. It has to be deeper. It can't be that surface level, that shallow, I'm on Instagram flexing. Like, Nip was very proud that he had money. That he was a businessman, he was a mogul, but he was buying back the community. So why can't the money challenge be, hey, how long can we keep a dollar in the black community, right? Like, how many black businesses can you support within the next 30 days, right? That's a money challenge. Like Young Dolph, when those kids got fired for playing his music, he brought them to Rolling Loud and gave them money on the stage. Like, that's a money challenge. Like, that's deeper than it, because they flexing, they got money, and you should deserve to have money because you earned it. But it's like, how can you better use your money? And I love what you said.
Right. And what you just said made me think about like a circulate challenge. You know what I'm saying? This is our challenge to you. You go to a store, you go to a black-owned business that's on Instagram, that's on Facebook, whatever, and you support them, and then they got to tag the next black business that they're going to support with those dollars, right? I think that could be something incredible and amazing. And so I think that, the money challenge is great. It's entertaining, but I think that we got to push ourselves to think, all right, money challenge was phase one. Let's show people that we got money. I done made it. I'm out, you know? And now it's like, now let me show you how I bring that edge back. Because so many times often in the community, like, people make it, they leave. You know what I'm saying? And then then their city is still their city. The future generations have to try and get out of, right? So now it's like, how do we make our city great? How do we bless our city? Or like, hey, maybe you hate your city. You know what I'm saying? Some people don't even want to move back to their hometowns, and I get it. But you can bless someone who looks like you, or bless someone who's been a blessing to you, or bless someone who needs it. So that's phase two. That's what Brewin Black is challenging y'all to do. Think about phase two. You got money, you get money, but can you give it?
Ooh.
Can you give money? Can you invest money? You know what I'm saying? Because I don't need y'all to show me. I need y'all to tell me about the deals y'all are making on the back end.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? The NFTs that y'all are investing in, the stocks. You know, Nas has a couple of songs that he's now making NFTs that you can buy portions of.
Ooh.
Right? I saw
still
Gary
don't know
Vee.
what that NFT is.
Oh yeah. So that's it's
non-fungible token.
Yes,
don't know
yes.
what that means. I did learn what it says though.
Yeah, so Gary Vee was talking about NFTs, and the way it's sort of trending is that people are going to be able to buy pieces of artists' music, and now
So
when
it's like investing in it.
yes, like literally investing in a song, and because artists are sharing shares of their song, and so if it blows up, you blow up. And so NFTs are about to start making competition for the labels, because that one artist that you was buying NFTs for when they first started, now when that song skyrockets, like imagine like investing in Lil Nas X when
The
he
little rodeo,
yeah, you know
or
what I'm
God's
saying?
plan.
Yeah, right.
I'm investing in all the Drake stuff.
Right. And now it becomes the fan, and Gary Vee was talking about the fans now sort of becoming the labels and stuff like that, right? So like, artists, entertainers who got money, that's what I want to figure out how I can support you and how I can get my pockets up. Floyd Mayweather was saying, hey, look, we can't even be friends if you're not telling me how to get it. I'm not going to be friends with billionaires if they're not telling me how I can get my life up for me and my family.
That's
so,
big facts.
like, y'all got a responsibility. If you got money, if you get money, you know what I'm saying, but everybody around you is a bum, all your followers are a bum, like, that's an issue for me, man. Because I can tell you I've been inspired by Kevin Hart or Diddy or Jay-Z or Beyonce and countless others in terms of their business moves, how they got down from a business perspective. So like, let's both get your money. I won't be doing a money challenge. Thank God I could. I could get enough dollar bills together and make something happen. Thank God. But y'all got me effed up. I ain't about to be out here doing that. But shout out to y'all who can. Money fall, you know.
Do what you do. But just like Nick Cannon said in his, I forgot what he spelled it out. I think it was in toilet paper. Just know that the IRS is watching.
Right.
And if you a rapper, just know that the courts is watching too.
Ooh, tell them about it. Tell them about it, because that is actually going to be a segment called Our Spotlight. And for those of you who don't know, Our Spotlight is basically when we give credit and shine a light on someone doing something positive in the community, right? So we had to start off with the light roast, get the criticism out of the way, but we like to end it on a good note. So T, tell us what's going on, because you said something about the courts are watching the rappers. What is going on here?
Yeah, so I don't know if y'all have heard, but in New York and other states as well, the courts have been using rap lyrics to indict and help convict some people that are defendants in court cases. So Jay-Z and Meek Mill have actually spearheaded a campaign to change New York law to prevent rap lyrics from being used as evidence in criminal trials. So several entertainers and prominent academics have joined the cause, such as Robin Thicke, Kelly Rowland, Michelle Alexander, the author of The New Jim Crow, and Robin D.G. Kelly. Shout out to UCLA. And y'all might ask, T. Shaw, now what is the problem with using lyrics in court? If they snitching on themselves, they snitching on themselves, right? And I'm going to give you two reasons. I think the first is that it assumes that rap lyrics are literal confessions rather than an act of storytelling and entertainment. So the genius of rap is that it is able to paint a picture, a picture of real life, right? Real life conditions that people are facing. But just like the show Power or Snowfall, it doesn't have to be a historical account, right? And we can take a literal example of Tekashi 6ix9ine. We don't like him. He a cultural appropriator. He's a vulture. He's a snitch, right? But when he was on trial, they did the same exact thing to him. They took his lyrics to try to convict him, right? And what he explains and what we find out is that nothing about his persona or lyrics were real. They were unauthentic, and his gang affiliation were purely for optics and clout. It gave him the image of being a gang member so that he could be popular in the streets, and he blew up. He definitely blew up, and it worked. But that shows that those lyrics weren't real. Another example, King Pusha T, right? Pusha T, 1 in every 5 bars of Pusha T has a drug reference. You would think that Pusha T is out here selling crack rocks, bro, like it's the 1980s. But he doesn't actually even sell drugs anymore, and he never sold drugs to the extent in which he talks about it, right? But when he talks about it, and you hear him talk about why he talks about drugs, he talks about the economic. He talks about the storytelling aspect that some people are living this life, and there are hidden messages in there that if you're only focusing on just the drugs, that you're missing the whole story. So I think that is a big reason that lyrics aren't literal. I think that it's important for us to know that. I mean, some people get their stuff ghostwrited too, right? And then the second one is that it's exclusively happening to hip hop, and it heavily relies on these racist assumptions and beliefs. So lyrics are presented to juries to paint a picture of these young men as gangbangers, as thugs, and associated with some type of niggatry, right? And it preys on the jury's fears already, these historic fears that these people are violent, that they're hypermasculine, and that they're a danger to the community. Shout out to the law professor. Her name's Andrea Dennis, and she's actually writing a book called Rap on Trial, I believe. Rap Music on Trial. So, and one last example, there was actually a Louisiana judge. Have you ever heard of NBA Youngboy? The judge told him that your genre of music has a lot to do with the mindset that people have, and that your genre normalizes violence. Rather than understanding that the genre is a reflection of the conditions in which these systems that we talked about, from these bills and these history, if we can't talk about history, then we won't know how these systems have created like a system for these conditions for people, right? Absolutely. So are we saying that rap music creates violence, or violence is reflected in rap music, right? Are people just telling the stories of the things that they see? So without rap music, do you think people still be shooting each other? Yeah.
Absolutely.
What? So I think that it's just important for us to think about like how music videos and rap lyrics are being used as literal, irrefutable evidence in court. But when we see a cell phone video of a police shooting an unarmed black man or unarmed black woman, or kneeling on the neck, that people are asking for more context, right? I want us to understand how like disassociated we have to be to come to those conclusions. So for more understanding, I want y'all to check out, there's an article in the New Yorker called "The Controversial Use of Rap Lyrics as Evidence" by Brianna Younger. And then there's a book from that professor I just talked about called "Rap on Trial: Race, Lyrics, and Guilt in America." And you can find out more information about this case.
Touche. Look, man, there's so many things. Cause I came in here thinking like, dang, like if you did do something crazy, why would you ever put it on wax? Why? What is this thing about people telling on themselves? But like, even as you were talking, I started thinking, well, for example, let's make it real. There was a shooting in LA. I won't say what part, but there was a shooting in LA. 4 people died. I think 1 was injured. And let's pretend, I'm not saying it was because I don't know, but let's say there was gang affiliations. I think about all the little 13, 14-year-old white boys and girls who have now mastered the Crip Walk on Instagram Reels, you know? And I'm thinking, I have never heard a story about them being investigated for gang affiliations based on the media that they choose to produce and put out into the world.
That's a bar.
Right?
That's a bar.
Right? You made me think about like rock stars who have anti-government messages, who worship Satan, who talk about all sorts of shit, and like they're not in court for anything. There's no assumption of violence or crimes
in country music or any of that.
Right.
When they're talking about their drug use and their infidelities and their violences.
That's what I'm saying. And so now it's it's interesting. It's suspicious that this is where y'all sort of draw the line, right? Because why can't it be, just storytelling, right? And to your point about, the genre thing that judge in Louisiana said to NBA YoungBoy, it's so crazy to me because like most of hip hop in terms of the money and the economics, like I've been to a hip hop concert. And it's not mostly black people in there. It's mostly white folks. White folks are keeping hip hop running from an economic standpoint.
Absolutely.
And guess what? White people as a collective are not suffering. They're not going up and shooting each other and this, that, and the third. But a lot of these white people are coming from the suburbs where violence isn't there.
With their bandanas and
right.
crip walking.
They trying to get hood. Yeah. They trying to get hood in the safety of the suburbs because they know there are no repercussions for it. Right. Whereas if I'm in a ghetto or low income environment, like I can relate to hip hop music because this is the stuff I'm seeing. This is not the stuff I want to happen. This is not the stuff I'm making happen. It's just happening to me. You think Rodney King wanted to get beat down by cops that day? But when NWA is saying F the police, it's not because Rodney King wanted to start something with the police. They beating him up. Yeah. And now everybody's seeing it. Oh yeah, F the police. It's the literal reflection.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like, but the funny thing is, those white folks in the suburbs, they get to say F the police because if they say F you to a cop, which is extremely disrespectful to the cop, it's like, they know nothing's gonna happen because they're shielded by their suburbia and their whiteness, and so we got to remember all these things. To that judge, get it together, bro. Get it together. But yeah, man, I think that you made a really, really great case, and I appreciate you making the recommendations for our audience because we have to think more critically about this.
Yeah.
And do you remember? I know it was Jay-Z, Robin Thicke. Who are some of the people who were supporting it?
Kelly Rowland. I saw a Cash Page. There were a number of people. They didn't put all of the artist names. They put some of the artist names, but yeah, there was a number of entertainers and a number of academics.
Yeah.
That signed on to this bill, and it's being led by 2 state senators in New York.
Yeah, and look for all the people who want to judge, the rappers for, talking about whatever they talk about in their lyrics. Also remember, today's show has been about the devil in the details, right? And you got to remember, if they can get targeted for their rap lyrics, how soon will it be before you can get targeted for an article that you write or something that you publish that's made a white person uncomfortable, that's made someone feel bad about LGBTQIA plus.
That incited a riot.
Right. So if hip hop is under attack, everything that's associated with progression,
blackness.
Right, and blackness can be under attack. So this is what we have to remember. It's not just these rappers. I don't care if they did do it. It's not about if they did do it or not. It's about this excuse to be able to attack them when it's not being applied to everybody within the same creative space. And so, like, what if they brought us to court for our podcast? We talk about injustice and stuff. So I think we got to leave people with that too,
Absolutely. So yeah, I mean, this was a phenomenal show. I hope y'all enjoyed.
Yeah.
We up in the studio. It's more to come. We're going to continue to grow, continue to develop. I hope y'all love the shirts. We're going to have merch for y'all.
We're
testing some things out. But yeah, do you have any final words before we sign out?
Man, no. Thank y'all for being on this journey with us. And we're not stopping. It's one of those things where this is still the tip of the iceberg, man. And we got to give it up. Shout out to the network studios. You know what I'm saying? Doing their thing. Check them out. And yeah, man, that's about it. More to come. To come.
All right. So like we like to say, keep the coffee
black.
Peace, and we'll see y'all soon.